I'm Gab. He's Jules. We know what the weather is in West London because I was just sent a video, and it's snowing right now.
Yay! It's
Not snowing here
here.
because we're in Doha, but Jules, this is big. The semifinals coming up. We have our final four. We're going to get into that. France are still alive. There you go. And they'll be playing Morocco in that semifinal. Of course, the other semifinal, Croatia and Lionel Messi's Argentina. We're going to get into all that. But let's start at the top. England beating France. Now, I have a confession to make.
France beating England, you mean?
Oh, yeah, Freudian there. But in terms of performance on the pitch, as we saw, that might be a bit debatable. It was interesting. You were nervous beforehand.
Yeah.
You told me privately that beneath the whole bravado and French insouciance and whatever, you're like, oh, I think we're going to lose to England.
Yeah.
As is funny because our colleague James Awley, who is extremely tall and therefore extremely wise, what did he say? He says, nah, mate, England are going out. You know why? Because England haven't won a World Cup knockout game away from Wembley since whatever, 19 or maybe even ever. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a long, long time.
Long time ago.
So that made me think, is it really going to be like that?
However, I thought England were the better side. I have to be honest here. We were at the game, and from what I saw from England was very good, I have to say. The French took the lead, obviously, early on. I think it was a nervy first 15 minutes from England. But after that, they took control of the game. Between the 15th minute and the 75th minute, they were really on top, and they were really putting France under pressure. And I was struggling in the stand, I won't lie. I was like, Kane scored the penalty straight after the break to make it 1-1. And then at that time, it looked like they were going to go and win it, and only them could go and win it. And we can talk about Southgate a little bit more later, but I thought he didn't really capitalize on that very strong period for the England team because they were on top. We were really struggling, and I think had he made a few changes there, maybe taking Henderson back out earlier instead of leaving him on the pitch until the 79th minute, I think something else could have happened for England. Instead, at some point, the French kind of regained a bit of momentum and scored that second goal, which was an amazing goal. And then you still had another chance with Kane to take that penalty and level the score.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. What struck me about this was Didier Deschamps' reaction, because obviously there was the bright start from France. There was the early goal. And I thought to myself, okay, Didier, you've got two options here. You're going to be 1998, if only. You're going to be 2018, Didier, and be like, all right, let's make England chase us. Let's sit, and let's go and release the Mbappe on the wing, and we're done. Maybe we get another one, maybe we don't. But Gareth Southgate's going to be scared of the threat of Mbappe over the top, so England aren't going to put us under as much pressure. And when they do, they're going to find a defensive wall. I thought he was going to do that. The alternative would have been, no, I'm going to be positive. I've got Griezmann in my midfield. I've got ballers. We're going to play higher up the pitch. Instead, I felt like it was like an in-between thing.
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
And England really capitalized on that.
Yeah.
I mean, England looked like the accomplished side out there, and France felt like the smaller team.
Especially in the second half, because I thought the first half was too predictable. Chouameni was on Bellingham, Rabiot was on Henderson. On Rice, you had either Giroud or Griezmann coming and do that kind of work. And then England didn't really create enough. Once Upamecano made that mistake and Kane had that shot that Lloris saved, then the penalty shout that the foul was clearly out of the box. That's why outside of the box. That's why it was not given as a penalty. But apart from that, I thought it was a bit predictable from England and quite comfortable for France. The second half, however, was very different. Early goal from that first Kane penalty, and then it was wave after wave. The Maguire header, the Bellingham volley, the Shaw cross that Theo kind of like put out and Saka behind him. All of that, I thought France then now have to show some resilience, have to show some mental strength, have to be ruthless in the sense that let's not concede and then we will have one more chance and we'll have to make it count. And that's exactly what they did.
Let's talk about actually first the foul that was outside the box. I don't think there's any question it was outside the box. But just to be clear, just to explain to viewers who might be wondering, it was obviously very close, but VAR cannot. There's two elements of this, right? There's the was it a foul and was it inside the box element. VAR decide if it was in the box or not. They can decide this on their own, and it's definitive because that's considered an objective an objective issue.
Yeah.
Once they've decided that it's outside the box, they can't ask the referee to come and look and decide and overrule them whether it was inside or outside. And that's why when people say, oh, did it go to VAR? Did it not go to VAR? Why wasn't it on-field review? Like, VAR is checking everything, right? There's 4 dudes up there, 5 dudes even.
5, yeah.
Right? There's people each explained to us.
But do you understand the criticism from the English players and the English media to some extent against the referee? Did you feel the referee had such a bad game?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm trying to think of big decision. Now, obviously, they might have felt it was in the box, but it's not. The referee on the field judges it to be, well, he judges it to be not a foul, actually. But he almost kind of, I thought there was one incident where he almost kind of left it to the VAR, as he certainly did with Theo Hernandez on Mason Mount, right? You know, I don't even know. I mean, I think he could have easily called it on the field, but maybe he chose not to. I don't think there was such an issue with the officiating in this game. I genuinely, you know, I think he did. I think he just complained a lot. I think he did whistle. He let a little too many things go, and I think that could be a criticism of him. Yeah. But then again, when you get the opposite, when you got referees showing too many cards, yes, I'm looking at you, Mateo Lajos, or when you have, you know, every little thing is a foul, you get the opposite, right? He's not letting the game flow, blah, 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 you know. So, I mean, did you think
There was a few calls that I thought, and you could see the frustration from the England players around the referee through the whole game pretty much. Maguire said after the game that in the first 10 minutes, there were 5 or 6 fouls from French players, no yellow cards, that kind of stuff, which I can maybe understand. I think it was a bit of the trend this week to complain about referee. Pep did it with Portugal.
We'll be getting to
Obviously,
that.
Argentina and the Netherlands did it as well. The English a bit last night. What I thought, though, and that kind of is related to the referees, that I thought England let the emotions sort of like kind of overwhelm them. And you look at Bellingham, he's an amazing talent. He was very good, I thought, last night. But every time the ref was giving a foul against him or a foul against England, he was going mad. He was like this. He was shaking his head. And I really felt that the emotion got to them. And I think in a game like that is so tight, when there's really not much between the two teams, and it's a quarterfinal of the World Cup, you can't let the emotions almost overriding you, if you see what I mean. You need to almost cut the emotions out, and then I treat that game as something so ruthless, like, whether it's against you or for you, the fight, it doesn't matter so much. You've moved on already. You forgot. You're in position. If the fight is against you, if the fight is for you, you've already thinking about what you're going to do with the ball. And I thought England didn't deal with that at all.
So a theory was put out by a colleague of ours, Tim Vickerys, who's based in Brazil, that this particular referee is somebody who has a reputation in South America for actually calling a lot of fouls, calling a lot of contact and stuff like that. And he comes into a World Cup environment where I think we've seen the trend around Europe and with FIFA as well is, no, let the game flow. Don't call little ticky-tacky fouls. And maybe he exaggerated too much in that direction.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, that could be an explanation. Did you feel that England missed? This is the other impression I got. And again, you were there. I only saw this on television, but England missed the width of the fullbacks that they would normally get. Now, with Walker, we can understand a little bit because obviously he's up against Kylian Mbappe. On the other flank, arguably as well, Shaw's got to deal with Ousmane Dembele. But that kind of robbed England a little bit of the regular overlap of the overload in midfield.
Yeah, a little bit. There's that cross from Shaw in the second half that we mentioned before that Theo puts out for a corner with Saka just behind him. Maybe, I think we knew before that Walker was not going to do at all any of that because he was clearly too busy with Kylian. And by the way, I think that the first France goal, in a way, is the result of that, over focusing on Kylian Mbappe and the defending, because there's 3 players that goes and try to close him down when Upamecano recovers the ball.
Walker was almost never left one-on-one with.
And when he was in the second half, Kylian outpaced him.
Yeah. I mean, Walker, I thought, played an exceptional game.
Yeah.
And really, that was the only time I felt that Mbappe beat him. And look, let's not forget, we can debate who's quicker, whatever. Mbappe's also 10 years younger or thereabouts, like Kyle Walker. So, whatever. I did feel as if this is the threat. Let's go and double. And that was another thing. if you know they're always taking an extra man, why not switch it up more often to Dembele on the other
Yeah, no,
side,
maybe.
or go through the middle? And I thought one of the reasons, Antoine Griezmann, I thought was praised to high heaven. I think a lot of people had him as man of the match, although my man of the match, of course, will always be Olivier Giroud.
Yeah.
But I thought also that focus on that side gave Griezmann more space in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. And just to go back quickly on that goal, Rice, Bellingham, and Walker all chasing down Kylian, who still manages to get out of that three. Rice is then too short, and then the ball goes wide, as you just mentioned, comes back onto Tchouaméni, who shoots and scores. And Bellingham is maybe half a second late, and the ball goes between his legs, because I think that move from Kylian Mbappe just unbalanced completely the whole team. Like, they were all over the place for 30 seconds maybe, but that was enough for France to score. So, yes, they kept Kylian quiet, and by doing that, you meant no Walker going forward. But you're right, I think Shaw could have done a little bit more, but maybe they were also a bit scared of Dembele on the other side.
I'm going to get the Kane penalty. Actually, no, let's talk about Kane penalty now. I don't want to talk about substitutions, your favorite subject.
Oh, my God. Yeah, please get me started on that.
So much debate on my television here in Qatar and on beIN Sport afterwards, especially one guy in particular, going on and on about how it was a mistake to let Harry Kane take another penalty against Hugo Lloris. Right now, I guess the logic is they're club teammates, and so they know each other. But he already made one penalty. Well, is this a rule in football? I don't understand.
No, I don't think so.
You need to change him. If you're playing against your club teammate and you scored one penalty, somebody else has taken another penalty. Is this some unwritten rule I'm not familiar with?
No. I agree with you. I don't think there was even a debate on who should take that second penalty.
So it was only here.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only that guy beIN Sport. I didn't watch beIN Sport, so I don't know. But even rewatching the game this morning, I was like, I don't think there's any problem. You don't see any England player. You don't see Southgate doing something. Clearly, the pen is the pen. Kane takes the ball. And by the way, Kane doesn't play for Frankfurt, does he? Because 2 months ago in the Champions League, he scored a pen in the game. And then right at the end, 90th minute, he's got a second pen. And he blasted it over the bar exactly like he did yesterday. So I don't think it's anything to do with Lloris being in front of him. I just think that maybe to do it twice in 2 months, it's a bit... So maybe he didn't deal well with that kind of pressure of taking another pen. And that game against Frankfurt, they were 3-2 up with a minute to go, so they would have won the game anyway. They won it 3-2 instead of 4-2 had he scored. But I don't think that's got anything to do with Lloris. However, I can see that it must be difficult to shoot against someone who knows you so well, who's been your friend for 10 years, who trains with you every day. I get it. But he knows Lloris as well. He knows where Lloris is.
100% he knows Lloris. And the other thing is, we're going to lift the lid on a secret here. It's not like professional footballers spend their time taking penalties against each other.
That's true.
So to me, it's, it is kind of in fact, it's more likely, I would assume, that Kane at club level would probably take penalties against a backup goalkeeper or U-team goalkeeper.
The third goalkeeper,
and Lloris would probably be training himself with a goalkeeping coach taking penalties against them, right?
Completely.
That's kind of the way. It's kind of the way professional football works.
Yeah, completely.
Substitutions. Bukayo Saka, I thought was maybe England's best player, or right up there.
I agree.
Were you surprised that he was the guy to come off?
Completely. I mean, there were talks.
Was he unfit? I don't think I could think of.
There were talks after that maybe he was injured, that he picked up an injury. I've said I didn't see it on the pitch. And that substitution from Saka bothered me massively. But what bothered me the most, Gabby, is that Raheem Sterling replaced him. Now, I've got nothing against Raheem Sterling. I think he's an amazing player. But what on earth would you bring on someone in a game like this when you've just conceded the second goal, so you're 2-1 down, someone who spent 5 days in London, who's just flown over there from Doha to London, 7 hours, three hours difference in the time difference, dealt with something that was quite traumatic to his family, clearly, because he felt the need to going back to London. Has just come back from London to Doha, 7-hour flight, the other 3 hours back into the other way, had not trained, or a little bit the day before the game, and you think it's a good idea with all the players that you've got on your bench to bring on Raheem Sterling for the last 20 minutes, 10 minutes of normal time and 10 minutes of added time? Really?
Yeah. I would have thought at that stage the obvious guy to bring on, and we saw him, I think he came on in injury time, was Jack Grealish.
Exactly.
For the simple idea, and look, I'm not having a go at Jack Grealish, this is part of the game. The logical, Jack Grealish gets the ball, what does he do? He goes, he puts his head down, he starts dribbling, he falls over, he gets fouled. And then you have a set piece, right? And then you've got people who can deliver the set piece well. You can bring up Maguire and his large head. You've got Harry Kane in there. You've got,
Completely.
you've got a threat in an area where, France had Giroud, who I don't know if he said he was injured after the game, but he certainly, obviously, he battled all the way through. France, defensively, set pieces, it's basically the center backs, Rabiot and Giroud, right?
Yeah, that's right.
England, many more weapons. They're a good set piece team.
Completely.
They created chances with them, with a stack, with their movement. This really surprised me.
It made no sense from Southgate, and I don't want to pick on him because England played really well, and we're not here to criticize Southgate. However, I just don't, at that level, every detail count. As we've been saying before in the preview, and the game was too tight. For Southgate not to make an earlier substitution before the 79th minute when he was 2-1 down was a mistake. To take off Saka was a mistake. To bring on Sterling was a mistake as well. And in the end, that might not have cost England the game. I don't know. We will never know. But those 3 moments there, I felt were mistakes from Southgate and showed once more, it's not the first time, once more, how much his in-game management is not good enough for that kind of level. It's as simple as that.
Now, there's an interesting twist going on here, right? We live in England. We both lived there for a long, long time. And if you haven't lived there, you've heard about the tabloid press and how aggressive they can be and how they go and they destroy England after every tournament, unless England win the tournament, which hasn't happened in my lifetime. So, most people's lifetime. This time around, the reaction is actually very positive about Southgate. Now, I think on the one hand, that shows a ton of maturity because they look at this and say, okay, England scored 6 against Iran. They had a bit of a stinker against the United States, but still they didn't lose. Okay, Wales, you can only beat what's in front of you, right? They beat Senegal, which I don't think is a game to be taken for granted at all.
Not.
And then they get this far, and they outplay the world champions, who are arguably a more talented side.
Yeah.
So that's all positive. I still think the English media, pre-Southgate, if they come back after a run like that, they still get hammered. They still get killed. This time around, there's so much positivity. Is it the English media that have grown up, or is it the fact that Southgate is legitimately a nice guy, a classy guy? He says the right things.
Yeah, and I think he's pacified. He has pacified. He made peace really between the tabloids, especially, and the England camp, the England players. They are, I think, happier to talk to the media, for example, which before I think was a chore, really, let's be honest. They do stuff like they go and play darts together in the England camp, a journalist against a player, all that kind of banter, if you want, which I think is helping. Let's just not go over the board with all the niceness and all the positivity as well.
Do you think there's still criticism of Southgate on the way and his choices in this game?
Yeah.
I would tend to agree. I mean, I think there's progress because we saw, I thought 2020 England were just exceptionally negative throughout the tournament. And they got to the final on this stupid thing where they said, oh, that's how France won a World Cup. Let's play the same way. I told you, this stuff does not work.
That's not work.
You can get lucky, but it doesn't work.
That's true.
I thought they played to their strengths a lot more. I think Southgate's on a path. And if I were an England fan, I would definitely want Gareth Southgate to stay.
Yeah, I can understand that. You can see the progression. There's no doubt. So they were just beaten by a team that if you don't kill that team off, like England had the chance and didn't do it, then they will come back and kill you off. And I think that's exactly what the French show. And I think that ruthlessness is what's missing a little bit now for England. I think they're such a nice bunch. And you said Southgate is such a nice guy, which is true. I think to go and win something big now, they need to be tougher. They have to be meaner. They have to have that kind of killer instinct that they clearly don't have. Otherwise, we would have seen it last night. And I think the French, on the other hand, were far from perfect. Let's not forget, there's no Conte, no Benzema, no Pogba.
I knew we were going to come up with all these.
But how
guys.
good are we to go into the last 4 in the semi-final when we have half of the country missing? Come on.
Yeah, Conte, Benzema, and Pogba. I think 2 of those 3 guys have played 3 games more than you have in the last year?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, why don't you go further? There's no Jules Fontaine, there's no Raymond Coppa, there's no Michel Platini.
They were not available. They were busy, apparently. So.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.